Hello, and thank you, Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan, for inviting us to share our research with you. The research began as part of Women Living Under Muslim Law's collective project, No Peace Without Women's Rights in Afghanistan. Women Living Under Muslim Laws is a transnational feminist network that also conducts and suggests research to further gender equality and gender justice in Muslim contexts. And they had been speaking to women leaders in Afghanistan who were very concerned for the future of women's rights following the US Taliban agreement in February 2020. So Meetra and I began collecting and trying to understand the Taliban's online propaganda, specifically their messaging aimed at the international community. We were trying to understand how their framing towards women had changed, and also to put their words into context, to look at what was happening at the same time in practice. Here is an outline of our presentation today. Firstly, we thought it would be helpful to give a brief overview of how the Taliban use online platforms to deliver their messages. Secondly, we will explain our approach and methodology and what the literature has said so far. And next, we will guide you through our key findings related to women's rights, women's education, and the Taliban's use of Islamic framing, and reflect on the stark difference between the Taliban's articulate and encouraging statements and the very different reality we are witnessing.
So I will be talking about the Taliban, Twitter and online messaging. Taliban use social media extensively to disseminate information, and they use Twitter despite the fact that during the 5-year period that they ruled in Afghanistan, watching television, listening to music and any other entertainment means of entertainment were strictly prohibited. Even when we were conducting our research, the use of smartphones and televisions were not allowed in some of the Taliban-controlled areas. The Taliban used Twitter to post updates, report on their fights with the government, make statements to the international community, and to spread misinformation. They also use other channels such as WhatsApp and Viber and Telegram to communicate with journalists. And the Taliban also post in various languages, including the official languages of Afghanistan, Farsi Dari and Pashto. Also, they tweet in Arabic, English and Urdu. The language of the tweets differ based on the context and the target audience. For example, English tweets were aiming at attracting international community and defining Taliban's stance during the peace talks, or the increased use of Arabic tweets also correspond to the talks taking place in Qatar. And following the capture of Kabul in August 2021, there have been few English tweets and more of Arabic tweets. So we collected Taliban's affiliated statements posted online from February 2020 until August 2021. This time frame actually coincides with the signing of the US agreement, the first 2 rounds of the intra-Afghan talks, the international exit, and the beginning of the Taliban's transitional government. We also collected online statements of Taliban from Taliban's Al-Amara website, which is now closed, and the tweets posted by Taliban's spokesmen, accounts such as Dr. Muhammad Naeem or Zabihullah Mujahid, and by the Taliban negotiator, who is Suhail Shaheen. Our aim was to analyze the Taliban's relatively new narratives and framing of women's rights and education, and how they presented and conceptualized these issues.
Since the start of the peace process, the Taliban have made persistent claims guaranteeing women's security in Afghanistan. They have claimed to have a clear and universal policy regarding the rights of women, and they have claimed to be committed to eradicating all unlawful customs and traditions against women. Since taking Kabul, the Taliban have publicly stated that they will allow women to continue to be active in society, to benefit from their rights, and work shoulder to shoulder with the Taliban within Islamic Sharia. In the image on this slide, we can see a tweet by Muhammad Naeem, one of the Taliban spokesmen, showing a woman in a full burqa. The text says that she is happy with the coming of the Mujahideen, the Taliban, as it is now safe and secure for women to go to work. However, in Taliban-controlled Kabul, the reality is very different. Women are unable to continue with their normal lives, and modern clothes and independence have been exchanged for burqas and male chaperones. Women have faced beatings for wearing the hijab incorrectly, and most women involved in women's rights are in hiding, missing, or have left the country. Women in Kandahar and Herat have been escorted home from work by gunmen and told that their male relatives will replace them now in their jobs. In Badakhshan and Tahar, the Taliban ordered religious leaders to provide them with a list of girls over 15 and widows under 45. The threat of forced marriages and sexual enslavement to Taliban fighters has caused many to flee. This is the antithesis of women's rights and would be considered a crime against humanity. During the peace talks in Doha in 2020, the Taliban emphasized the importance of education in a number of statements. They claimed that education is the basic right of all Afghans, and they wrote they wanted to guarantee all human and legal rights of every child, woman and man. In these statements, the Taliban presented themselves as a progressive force in favour of education for all citizens of Afghanistan, regardless of their gender. However, in areas held under Taliban control up until their recent resurgence, their record for girls' education was poor and inconsistent. Very few of these areas allowed girls past puberty to attend school. Some prevented girls from gaining an education at all. Where the Taliban had influence over the curriculum, religious education was prioritised at the expense of other subjects. Following their recent takeover of the country, the Taliban have released official videos of girls attending school in Herat, and we can see in this slide Mohammed Naeem tweeted that the girls and their teachers are happy to start their studies under the protection of the Islamic Emirate, that is the Taliban. Some schools and universities have reopened, but girls' and boys' classes have been separated at university. For example, at Kabul University, a curtain currently divides male and female students. Such statements also forget the intimidation and threats made to female students and educators by the Taliban, which has significantly reduced the number of girls accessing education. There are several hundred fewer teenage girls at Herat University compared to last year, and in Injal district in Herat city, pamphlets were distributed with official Islamic Emirate seals, ordering teachers to stop educating girls. Fear has therefore already proven effective in preventing women from accessing education and pushed female educators into hiding.
One of the other findings is Islamic framing, which is frequently applied by the Taliban in their online messaging, and that is the Islamic values within an Islamic system. The Taliban, in one of their statements, assure that all male and female compatriots shall be given their right under the shade of a just and true Islamic government. All statements regarding women's rights and education, therefore, come with a significant caveat. The deployment of this framework undermines any true guarantees for women's rights and education as they are generally understood. So the question is, what are these values and how does this system look like? The Taliban's religious ideology is fake. They claim that it is based on Deobandi school. However, Deobandi school is characterized by fundamentalist interpretations, opposition to innovation, and restrictions against women outside the home. Also, the Taliban have never produced any Islamic manifesto or any historical or theological analysis grounding their perspectives. They are poorly tutored in Islamic history and Sharia, so it makes their statements vague as well. So this was also evident in their first press conference since seizing Kabul this year, in August 2021, designed to soothe the international community. Their spokesperson, Zabiullah Mujahid, persisted the vague guarantees, and he said that women will be given rights, education and opportunities within an Islamic framework, even when pressed the Taliban were unwilling to set out their framework in clear terms. We have now reached the end of our presentation today. Thank you again to Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan for inviting us to share our article with you today, and we look forward to learning from the rest of the presentations at today's symposium. For our sources and references, please search for our article entitled Women's Rights and Education Under the Taliban, published by LSE South Asia Center LSE blog. I have also provided my Twitter handle. Thank you very much.